49ers hire Dan Quinn to match with their new general manager, Adam Peters, to lead this franchise into the future.
The way that we live is not for everybody, okay? It's not, all right? Because we're going to run and put our bodies on people in a violent manner.
Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So I had a chance to watch the film with the mob. Really, everybody. It was fun to include everyone in on the fun that is the film breakdown when you win. So big shout out to everybody that joined me for the film breakdown. And again, be a part of the mob. Don't miss a single thing, including those film breakdowns every single week. That said, prizes, giveaways, etc. There are a lot of perks and benefits to being a member of the MOBB. But nonetheless, a lot of takeaways from the film. Many of them you already knew, some maybe not so much. But quickly, I don't want to put a whole lot into this, but upon further review of the film breakdown from the Philadelphia Eagles Week 16 36-33 win by the good guys. First things first, the offensive line performed well in the pass game, protection-wise. There was one or two breakdowns, but largely they were really good protecting Jaden Daniels. Anytime you go empty as much as they did in that game, and, I think he had one sack surrendered the entire game, that's a testament to the offensive line getting the job done, but it's also a testament to Jaden Daniels and his ability to elude rushers. A great example, the 4th and 11. Brandon Coleman gets beat, and Coleman was good in this game. And this wasn't like you've seen in, most weeks where they chip a ton. They chipped, okay. I'm not saying that they didn't chip at all, but there wasn't a lot of chipping in this game. There wasn't a lot of, hey, we got to babysit Brandon Coleman and Andrew Wiley. Let's get a piece of these edge rushers on the way out. There was a lot of, hey, y'all got it. You know what I'm saying? You can handle it. Hey, we getting 5 out. We getting 4 out. And we going to sneak this running back out late. But you got it. We don't got time to be keeping our eligibles in. You got to hold it down. And for the most part, Brandon Coleman and Andrew Wiley did that. Wiley got beat on the very first play of the game. Remember, OZ wide open, probably would have been like a 15-yard gain to start the game off. And Jaden throws it over OZ's head. He had pressure in his face. Why? Because Andrew Wiley got beat with the slowest crossover I've ever seen an edge rusher use to beat a tackle. But it was effective, and Jaden, wasn't ready for pressure on the first play of the game, and so he airmailed it over OZ's head. That 4th and 11 run, Brandon Coleman gets beat clean off the line by Nolan Smith on a straight speed rush. It wasn't anything to it. Wasn't anything significant about it. He just beat him, knocked his hands down like we see with Coleman quite often. And he was making a beeline for Jaden, and Jaden felt that pressure backside behind him, and he got out of there. And then we know what else happened after that. Great by Zach Ertz on that play. But if that's a lesser quarterback, and I said during the film study, if that's Caleb Williams, for instance, another rookie quarterback, that's sack. That's sack. The game's over right there. But instead, Jaden got out of there and made it happen. I said this after the game, and I think you already realized that the receivers were awesome in this game. Not just as pass catchers, which they all stood up tall when their number was called, whether it was Crowder with 2, big touchdowns in the game. Obviously, OZ with the 2 touchdown grabs, but he made a number of other catches. Obviously, Terry made his share of plays in this game, including, the big touchdown in the first half. The receivers stepped up. Diami made, some big plays, including the big 52-yard catch right past Darius Slade from the shadow of our own goalposts. Like, that was an empty, guys. Like, they literally left the tackles on an island by themselves, and essentially told Jaden Daniels, hey, go make it happen from the end zone. Like, that's a lot of confidence you're putting in not only your offensive line, but your rookie quarterback. But he's one of them ones, right? So the receiver stepped up in this game. And not only his pass catcher, though, but his blockers as well. They were outstanding blocking down the field. They were really, really good. But speaking of blocking, the offensive line wasn't very good in the run game, and we already knew that. That's not something you needed to watch the film to be able to decipher. Um, the why is debatable. I think there are a number of different factors as to why it's not happening. Some plays, guys are overthinking it. Some plays, it's supposed to be a double team and then get to the second level, and guys aren't given enough of a double team initially to then get to the second level, and they're too hasty to get up to the second level, and you're leaving a guy one on one, and that's not going favorable. You got to give credit to some of these guys up front, whether it's the Saints last week or the Eagles this past week, where they're just winning up front. But we got to be more physical. We got to be more physical. We got to be more assertive. We got to get back to that. We got to get back to that. Defensively, I told you this already, but it was reiterated. The defensive line had themselves a day. The linebackers played really well. Jordan McGee, he sustained a hamstring injury, and it sucks because he's playing football, man. And I pointed that out on the film study. He was playing some ball in that game. And I saw it last week against New Orleans, but it was brief. But this week, he was really being aggressive, attacking the line of scrimmage. They were blitzing him off the edge as well. And he had the makings of a guy that was going to be a factor moving forward. And unfortunately, he sustained a hamstring injury. And I much like the rest of the guys who sustained hamstring injuries, De'Ami Brown and Marshawn Lattimore, I don't expect any of them to participate in Sunday night's massive showdown with the Atlanta Falcons. But Jordan McGee was outstanding. And I think he's going to be a good player, man. I really like him a lot. Tyler Owens was a man amongst boys on special teams. Tyler Owens had about 5 individual special teams tackles on Sunday. They couldn't block him. He was fun to watch. The defensive line as a group was just phenomenal. You had Sheldon Day, who made plays. You had Deron Payne, that had one of his better games this season. You had Johnny Newton, who had the best game, I think, of his young NFL career. You had Jalen Holmes, who had a sack and I thought did some good things. Carl Davis, by far and away, his best game to me as a Commander thus far. He stood out to me as well. And then, the linebackers, Frankie Louvu with the pick. He forced an intentional grounding. He had a big 3rd down and 1 3-yard tackle for loss on Saquon Barkley. He was everywhere, right? In the backfield a ton, just really making his presence felt. Bobby Wagner, same deal. Had the big pass breakup on Saquon Barkley down the field. Yeah, I just thought the front 7 overall was really good. What's going to be interesting is, and going back and watching the Eagles, and I felt this watching it live, but watching it on film, it was very apparent that there were at least 3 or 4 times that the Eagles probably would have gone for it on 4th down had they had Jalen Hurts because of the brotherly shove. And, a lot of the people in the mob was like, damn, not doing the brotherly shove makes a huge difference for their offense. It does. It's almost a cheat code. I've said this already. It's almost like a cheat code for them. And not having Hurts put them in a position where they weren't comfortable going for it in some of those situations that they would have been bullish and they would have gone for it. But I will say this, Hurts makes a difference from that standpoint. Hurts makes a difference because, as you could see if you watched the game early on, when we tried to pressure them, if you're not disciplined in your rush lanes, he's going to get out and hurt you with his legs. But by no means do I think that this was we stopped the run because we were loading up the box against Saquon Barkley type deal. The Eagles, by formation, allowed us to load up the box. But the Eagles have done that all season because they are bullies. They are going to line up with their guys versus your guys, and they think they're going to win. And they didn't win on Sunday. We did. We won up front. Our guys beat them to the punch. Our guys were more physical. Our guys were swarming to the football. Our guys were getting to Saquon before he got started. That wasn't a Jalen Hurts thing, and maybe you have to, you have to prepare yourself for and account for, that's the word I was looking for, account for Jalen Hurts in a more of a read option setting. And maybe we would have seen more of those types of plays and reads, and you would have had to respect Hurts keeping it. But Hurts, that's not how he really hurts you. He doesn't really hurt you on read option keeps. Hurts hurts you on, scrambles where things break down. Hurts you on quarterback draws, right? Those are the types of plays he hurts you on. Like read option, unless you just absolutely ignore him, which it's hard to ignore number one. That's just doesn't happen. He doesn't really hurt you in that. I really think the Eagles just couldn't run the ball against us after the first quarter. As simple as that. And that was fun to see. That was really good to see. Man, Jaden Daniels is good. That was some good tape, man. And, one of the things that was so refreshing was watching him throw the football outside of the pocket, not look to just be a runner after things, sort of break down in the pocket and there's that second reaction play. He didn't just look to turn the corner and be a runner. He extended to be a passer. And that made all the difference in the world in this game. It really, truly did. And once again, you got to credit the defense. Even though the Eagles definitely helped out with some plays, you got to credit the defense for standing tall as many times as they did in this game and forcing the issue. So a lot of good from this film. Some things that definitely need to be cleaned up. But, can't turn it over as many times as we did, obviously. But when you win in the manner that we won, despite the mistakes, it just builds more confidence. So let's go ahead and transition to in other news. So obviously, there was no press conferences for the Wednesday show, but we do have two things that we want to discuss today. One, Zach Ertz apparently got into it with Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni post-game. Now, none of us were really aware of this whole situation. There was a few articles that I saw mentioning it, and I was like, what? And then I saw something else that talked about Ertz and Sirianni kind of squashing it over a Zoom or, a Skype or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So something must have transpired. Then JP Finley had sort of a clip of their interaction. And I don't really know what was said or what happened, but you could clearly see there was a handshake between Sirianni and DQ after the game, which is customary with NFL coaches. And right as those two embrace, you could see Ertz walking by and he goes, what? Like something was said to him or something happened that caught him off guard, and you could see his face turn up and he makes a beeline for Sirianni, and the two are walking next to each other talking, and, Ertz is definitely upset about something, and then apparently the Eagle security, Big Dom, has to step in between Sirianni and Ertz. Really, Ertz. Ertz is the one looking to be aggressive, and Sirianni, I don't know what was said, but Sirianni's a douche. I think we can all agree on that. Like, we've seen his antics over and over again. The shit he pulled in Indianapolis, the shit he pulled against the Chiefs. He got under his own fan base's skin when he, had something to say to them. He's flipped the bird off at fans before, had to apologize to his own fan base for pissing them off. And then, this situation, and there are countless other situations that we could probably point to where this guy can't control himself as an NFL head coach. He gets emotional, especially after losses. He's an idiot. I'll just say that, right? He's an idiot. But ultimately, when it's all said and done, seems like the situation has been squashed, and seems like the situation has been squashed, and him and Ertz made amends for whatever did take place. But at the end of the day, the fact that this even is something that we're talking about just kind of speaks to Sirianni's inability to control himself. But again, what's new, right? Glad this guy isn't our head coach. I just know that much. So, quick trip around the NFC East. Obviously, the Giants are in the driver's seat now for the number 1 overall pick, with the Raiders winning on Sunday. So, big turn of events for the Giants. They'll get to pick. I actually think the number 1 pick is overrated. Like, the last 2 years, we've seen the number 2 pick turn out to be better than the number 1 pick because the option was taken off the board for you, right? I think I don't want to say it's a curse, because I don't think that's the accurate way to go about it. But I think, when the option is taken out of your hands and you're left with the second best guy, it makes the decision easy. And there's a lot more weight put on the decision when you're number 1 and you get to choose. Because if you get it wrong, then you effed up. If you're number 2 and the guy that goes 1 is the better player, well, you didn't have a choice. Like Chase Young and Joe Burrow, right? Like, I get both of them don't play the same position, but and there were other quarterbacks that went in that draft that actually turned out to be really good. But there was a discussion about whether you should take Chase Young over Joe Burrow. Like, those were fleeting conversations. Nobody that was serious was really entertaining that thought, but that was a conversation that did ultimately come up at one point. It makes it easy when like the Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud conversation. I was a Bryce Young guy, and I still think Bryce Young is going to be a really good quarterback in this league. I never wavered on that, but clearly he wasn't the better of the two in the rookie season. And C.J. Stroud is, as of right now, is the consensus better player of the two. Now, could that change as time progresses? Sure, but right now, C.J. Stroud, without question, is the best quarterback of that draft class in 2023. You go to 2024, and everyone felt like Caleb Williams should be the number 1 pick. Yada yada yada. The Bears take him. Jaden Daniels goes number 2. You see how that's turned out for the Commanders. You see how it's turned out for the Bears thus far. I still think Caleb Williams is going to be really good. I've seen good things from him this season, but he's got a ways to go in terms of some of the things that he has to curb, including taking sacks. He's one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league this season, but he does some really good things as well. So I think he's going to be fine, but right now there's no debate on who's the better quarterback right now. It's Jaden Daniels, and I don't see that changing, by the way. So number 1 could be overrated. I like to be number 1. Like, I want to have the choice. I don't want someone making my decision for me. I want to have the choice, but sometimes it's better to just have the decision made for you, as we've seen the last 2 drafts. But we'll see what the Giants ultimately do. They're not winning another game. The Giants are cooked. They're done. And so they're going to be the number 1 pick. And I think I don't know if they're going to take Shedeur Sanders. He comes with a lot of baggage. I've said this already. We've seen reports already, and we know that this is the thing that happens when you get to the draft season. We're not quite there yet, but you think it's bad now. We're already hearing teams have to do their due diligence on Shedeur Sanders. Look, I don't care how you feel about Shedeur Sanders on the field talent. You have to be wary of all that comes with Shedeur Sanders. Whether you love him, you don't love him, whatever, there are questions that have to be answered about this dude, right? And so we'll see what the Giants ultimately do. I'm just glad we're not in that position anymore. We've done that, been there, done that, got the T-shirt and the hat to match. We're good, right? We got our guy. So best of luck to the Giants, or maybe not best of luck to the Giants. We'll see. But then there's the matter of the Cowboys and the Eagles. So Cowboys are out of the playoffs, as we know. With our win over Philadelphia, we actually officially eliminated Dallas. They weren't making the playoffs anyway, but we officially eliminated the Cowboys, which, what could be better than taking down the Philadelphia Eagles, ending their win streak, ending any hopes of them winning the number 1 seed, and knocking out Dallas from the postseason all in one fell swoop. It doesn't get much better than that. However, the Cowboys and the Eagles play each other this week. And we saw what the Cowboys did on Sunday Night Football and them beating Tampa Bay and how well they've been playing here over the last month and a half, 2 months now, ever since Cooper Rush stepped in pretty much. They didn't win those first couple of games against Philadelphia and Houston, but ever since he beat us, let's start there. Ever since he beat us, they've been lights out and getting better and better every week. They beat us, then they beat the Giants, and then after that Giants game, they really got their shit together. So they win again against, it was one thing to beat us, division, family business, all that good stuff, which still was a big win, but it should never have happened. They didn't really play well in that game. We just played poor in that game. It's another thing to be Giants. They suck. Family business, same kind of ordeal, but the Giants are one of the worst teams in football, so whatever. Lose to Cincinnati. That one was a gut punch. But you bounce back, you beat Carolina. But none of these are good teams, right? Giants aren't a good team. Carolina's not a good team. The Tampa Bay win is different. It just shows how well the Cowboys are playing right now. And now they got the Eagles. And look, we don't know the status of Jalen Hurts and whether he's going to play this week or not. My guess is he doesn't play this week. And then if they don't win, he plays in week 18 versus the Giants to lock up the division. But if he doesn't play, Dallas could win that game. I think Dallas is going to beat them. That would be interesting because, again, we got to take care of what we got to take care of, right? We got to beat the Atlanta Falcons. But we'll know by the time our game starts on Sunday night if there's still a shot at us winning the division. Like, technically speaking here, if the Eagles lose to Dallas, we're not out of this thing yet. I know it's far-fetched, and they're going to win the division because they're not going to lose to the Giants no matter what. But stranger things have happened. I remember a year where the Giants were ass and they lost to the Philadelphia or the New York Giants, the Eagles. And Jalen Hurts threw 3 interceptions, I believe. And then the final play, or possession, they had a drop by one of their receivers. And the Giants ended up winning the game. They had no business winning. So stranger things have happened. You get to week 18 and all bets are off. But the Giants stink, man. They're the worst team in football right now. They're non-competitive. So there's no way. I don't care if Tanner McKee is the quarterback. The Eagles are beating the New York Giants. But it could make things really interesting. I don't really want the Eagles resting anybody. Preferably, I need them playing a string out. And a loss to Dallas puts them in a position, coupled with the Commanders win, obviously, right? We got to win to even put that type of pressure on them. If not, they win on Sunday or we lose, then they clinch the division, and then they don't have to play their guys in week 18. And then that could get really dicey for the Giants, right? So this thing could go, but that's why this division thing is crazy, because if the Eagles don't need week 18 and they start resting guys, hell, the Giants could end up winning the game, right? If you're a Giants fan, you want Dallas. You are rooting for Dallas to beat the Eagles, and you're rooting for the Commanders to beat the Falcons so that the Eagles have to play that game to win, and you don't have a chance of winning in week 18 and spoiling your opportunity to get the first pick in the draft. So big game for the Giants. Big games for the Giants, but big game for the Eagles too, right? Interesting stuff around the NFC East. And you know what our situation is. Win and you're in. A loss by Tampa earlier in the day gets us in as well, but win and you're in. It's that simple for the Washington Commanders, Sunday Night Football. So anyway, I digress. Let's take our first look at the Atlanta Falcons real quick before we get out of here. This is going to be a fun game. Like, I don't think anybody expected this game to come down to what it ultimately is coming down to, not from a record standpoint. We knew the Atlanta Falcons would be right where they are in terms of either leading or chasing after the division crown in the South. We know it's not a very good division. So we knew the Falcons were going to be in there. But from a standpoint of two rookie quarterbacks doing battle. This thing takes on a new meaning now, not just Falcons chasing after the NFC South division crown, not the Commanders chasing after a playoff berth, but more importantly, for casual fans, hey, we get to see two rookies of this 2024 class that looks to be outstanding at the quarterback position. Right now, there were 6 quarterbacks selected. Penix last week made a start, became the 5th quarterback from this first round draft class of quarterbacks that there were 6 taken. And we know McCarthy can't play because he injured himself in the preseason and is going to miss the entire season for the Vikings. So of the other 5, Penix was the last to get an opportunity to make his first career start. And he played well against the Giants last week. And now he's going on a big stage, Sunday Night Football on the road with a chance to make a statement. And, it's going to be a fun game. Hopefully the weather holds up. I know the forecast on the East Coast is supposed to be pretty nasty on Sunday. Rain almost everywhere. I'm hoping that maybe it's earlier in the day. It's clear skies by the time game time rolls around and we got ourselves a clean football game. But the last time we played the Falcons at home, it was rain. So it would not shock me if it's raining again when we play Atlanta. But I'm looking forward to this game. The Falcons defensively have actually been really solid this season. It's really been their offense that at times has been anemic, but their defense has been really solid. Now, they don't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and we'll talk about that on tomorrow's show when we go behind enemy lines. They don't get a ton of quarterback pressure, but they do produce some turnovers. They have some ball hawking players in that secondary, including Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates III at the safety position. They can force you into some mistakes if you're not careful. And I talked about this ad nauseum. They run the football extremely well. They have dynamic runners. Well, one dynamic runner and then a hammer, right? So Bijan Robinson he's the new Shady McCoy in this league in terms of guys that can kind of make you miss in a phone booth. He is so elusive and, stop on a dime, change of direction. It's just sickening how quick he is. He's a problem, and he can catch it out of the backfield. Then you have Tyler Algier, who is just a brute, who's just coming downhill and not looking to make anybody miss, but looking to run you, slam over. And so they got 2 different flavors that they can come at you with on the ground. They run an outside, inside zone type offense. So they're athletically gifted front. And if we aren't on our best behavior, that kind of offense gets to the edge quite often. If you can't, cover up those edges and you can't make tackles, and we're going to have to gang tackle. We're going to have to swarm to Bijan Robinson. He's that kind of a back. If we can't, get to the football, we can't get to the perimeter and swarm, and you can't be over pursuing in this game. This is one of those games where those cutback lanes are paramount because he'll start going press, stick his foot in the ground and stick his foot in the ground again. And next thing you know, safety on the backside had over pursued too far, and now he's running across the field the other way. And he's dynamic enough to do that. So we're going to be without Marshawn Lattimore, more likely than not. And so Drake London could be a problem. I think Drake London is a good matchup for Benjamin St-Juste. I actually think that's the type of receiver Benjamin St-Juste doesn't actually have a problem with. He has a problem with guys like Ray McLeod and Darnell Mooney. Those are the guys we don't want Benjamin St-Juste covering. I think he can run and be physical with Drake London. But just him being on the field is a problem, but I don't think we're going to have a choice this week. So that's why you can't get rid of Benjamin St-Juste. But we're going to talk more about this Falcons game tomorrow, or next episode, we'll just say, when we go behind enemy lines and talk about what the Atlanta Falcons bring to the table. But I digress. That's your first look at the Atlanta Falcons. Big game, Sunday Night Football. Jayden Daniels' first foray into Sunday Night Football. He's been on Thursday Night Football. He's been on Monday Night Football. He's never been on Sunday Night Football. That all changes this Sunday, Week 17. Big time spot with a chance to clinch a playoff berth. Should be tons of fun. But that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. Again, I'll be live tonight, Thursday Night Football, overtime. Seahawks, Bears. I'm not going to lie to you, not the most compelling game, but it is our final opportunity on a primetime stage to see Caleb Williams and what he's doing. Also, it's the last Thursday night game of the season. So enjoy it, because this is the last week you're going to have for any of this stuff. Next week, every single game is played on Sunday, right? Every single game. So this is the last week for Thursday night football. This is the last week for Saturday football. You know, all the days of the week that we've seen football games, it's it. So enjoy it, because you're going to miss it when it's gone. Trust me. But that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Until next time, you guys have a good one. Take care.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40.